Hi, Skylar.
Hi, Sam.
Welcome to Summongreaterpod Podcast.
Thanks for being here.
This is a podcast about homebrew and homies.
Indeed.
And we've been working on homebrew and hanging with the homies lately.
It's very true. We have.
And playing some D&D, as is our wont. We're in trouble.
We're in trouble?
Yeah.
Why are we in trouble?
Well, in the campaign that we've been frequenting the most,
yes.
we are potentially in for a world of hurt.
I think more than potentially. I think there's a likelihood of hurt.
Yeah, a strong likelihood of hurt.
Hurt is heavy on the forecast, as it were.
Yeah, we left off our last session locked in combat with a demon named Gadriel.
A supposed angel posing as the head of a church.
Yep.
Religious trauma, anyone? Not us.
Seen one of those? Unfortunately for us, this combat that we cut short has more than one phase to it. And we successfully
already been horrifying.
It's already been horrifying. We successfully made it through the first, but it was only the first. And
phase 2, baby.
Homeboy turned into a
full-on demon.
Yeah, just a full-on demon. His arm separated from his body. Well, I don't think our DM said anything about nipple piercings.
Oh no, the picture that she sent clearly depicted nipple piercings.
I might need to look at the picture again. I'm a little terrified that his arms are going to fully separate from his form and fly at people.
Yeeting out at us? Yeah, that's...
Currently, everybody in the party is hurting for resources. I don't think anyone is like terribly low on HP.
No, I think we've managed to skate by on HP for now.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've received a good deal of healing because
that's true. I was gonna say we did use a lot of those resources to maintain that HP.
Yeah. And now going into this phase of the fight, we don't have a lot to pull on.
We're in the lower half of the gas tank, ladies and gentlemen. It's you're gonna have to pray for us. This is gonna be rough.
This is gonna happen in the next few hours. We finish out this combat.
We are actively dreading it as we record.
Yeah. What are we gonna do? What can we do?
I think we're gonna need to spend about 10 minutes prior to like actually starting combat for all of the players to sit down and look at character sheets and go, what have you got? Okay, what have I got?
Yeah.
Okay, what do we do?
I don't know.
So excited.
Obviously, like we can squeeze it out. The DM is hoping that we do, and there is always a way.
Oh yeah,
but we're gonna have to think real hard and real fast.
Yeah, we're gonna have to turn the brains on this time.
And I'm just scared. There's always the possibility that someone may jump in to help.
That is fair. It depends on what the NPCs around us are feeling or what happens there, because we have generated a decent amount of allies in this campaign, which is pretty cool.
We have, and it seems like we may have more than one ally in the church that we're currently in.
Yeah, theoretically.
Because we literally just waltzed into the church that this guy has taken over, and he seems to have a good deal of influence over a number of the clergy and the followers. Some of them seem to know what's up.
There might be a few in there. There might be a handful of people that are waiting for an opportunity to give this guy a knife in the back.
Yes.
Give him the old Julius Caesar.
I would love that for us. I don't think it's incredibly likely.
We're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as like, please.
Yeah.
Send in one of the altar boys. Is it likely? No. Could we argue for it anyway? Sure.
Terrifying situation, folks. We'll let you know how it goes. See you on the other side and all.
Right. But on that topic, we've been unable to think of anything but D&D for a while because of this unresolved combat, and so we've been crafting and cooking some stuff up.
Have, dude.
And you've cooked something up, haven't you?
Dude, I always have Xenoblade Chronicles on the brain. This we know.
So true.
But I've been playing my Xenoblade 2 file again recently. I kind of wanted to go back to that game because like at the beginning of last year, I 100%ed the first game, which was an unbelievably stupid and massive undertaking. But holy God, I did it. And I want to do the same with the second game, which is an even larger undertaking. And I don't know realistically if I will ever fully complete this game. It's just, it's so goddamn big. And then Lord knows if I can do the same with the third. But I played this game when it came out, and I've come back to it a few times over the years, and there just is there are always new things to pull from it, and there are especially new things to pull from it as a seasoned D&D player and as a DM.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I have been, filling out character skill sheets, working on a blade called Pandoria specifically. Love Pandoria so much. She's a wonderful character. One of my favorites in the main party. Her and Zeke are a blade driver combo, and together they wield this weapon called the Big Bang Edge.
Why is that it looks like a safety razor. So sorry.
Oh no.
Just glued a Q-tip on the end of the safety razor.
Oh, that's so funny. It's going to be funnier to you when you hear how this is used.
That is a sick ass sword though.
So the build that you kind of go for when using these two characters is like something that lends toward attacking as much as possible. Because Pandoria gives Zeke a whole bunch of effects that increase his speed and increase the recharge or decrease the recharge time of his arts. And just, damage faster and faster. You snowball like crazy with these characters. So I wanted to try to channel a little bit of that in this weapon. And more than anything, characterize the aesthetics of what these characters can do.
Yeah.
So this is a great sword. It's a legendary weapon. It does require attunement. It's a magic weapon. You gain +1 to attack rolls made with this magic weapon. This weapon's damage is 2d6 slashing and 1d6 thunder. The hilt of this sword, I wanted to, take it like just a step up from greatsword.
Oh yeah,
2d6.
Yeah.
So add a d6 thunder on it.
Mm-hmm.
The hilt of this sword is able to detach from the blade, becoming a wand that is able to control the blade, which takes flight and spins rapidly. It's crazy. When you take the attack action, you may throw the blade forward in a straight line, dealing the weapon's usual 2d6 slashing and 1d6 thunder damage to all in its path. The blade returns to you along the same trajectory. You must make an attack roll for every creature in the path of the blade.
Okay.
If you successfully hit 3 or more creatures in this manner, your movement speed is doubled until the end of your next turn. End of your turn. Sorry,
Jeebus.
Not your next one. Just the current one.
Jeebus Creebus.
You gain access to the spells Thunderclap and Destructive Wave. Thunderclap may be cast 3 times per day. Destructive Wave only once per day. When cast in this way, Destructive Wave may only deal radiant damage as its secondary type.
Okay.
So Destructive Wave has, it deals I forget how much thunder, a lot of thunder damage. I think it's like 4d6 or something like that. It might be way more. And then you deal can't remember how much as a secondary type, but you choose a secondary damage type to deal like 2d6 more or so. And you have to pick between radiant and necrotic. I decided that for this, just because of how it's flavored, you keep it to radiant.
That makes sense. Yeah. That is fucking sick. Fucking Beyblade sword.
Oh yeah. So that mechanic is incorporated in a lot of the specials. Zeke is a very large, beautiful buff man, whom I love, obviously. And he uses the sword as a sword. But of course, in Xenoblade 2, the blade driver mechanic, a blade is a person in this game. They're like supplying power to the driver, and at certain points in the battle, they relinquish use of the weapon and do a special move with it themselves. When Pandoria takes control of the Big Bang Edge, she's a tiny little girl and can't quite swing it around the same way. So she takes this mechanic,
the wand,
and turns it into the wand and the blade, and like controls its flight path with the wand.
That's so fucking cool, dude.
And then Destructive Wave hit me immediately when I was just like parsing through the specials, because there's a move that Zeke will do where he slams the sword into the ground, and creates a large explosion very reminiscent of Destructive Wave.
Makes sense.
It fit.
Yeah. It's given me Yondu's arrow from Guardians of the Galaxy.
It is very much Yondu's arrow. Yeah.
So
and I thought
sick.
about fleshing out the flying blade mechanic a little bit more, but I wanted to separate this as much as possible from Dancing Blade, or Dancing Weapon, which is already a thing that exists in 5e.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
And also, I felt that this would be a good opportunity to introduce this built-up movement speed mechanic, which I felt would be a good enough analog to Pandoria's attack speed building mechanics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I'm excited for that. Like, that's one that I would honestly use on a character. It's so freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, I'm happy with how this turned out. The only thing that I still question a little bit is the return trajectory. I thought about adding damage to the flight path back, but I felt like it was already complicated enough, and you can do the boomerang move every turn. There's no limit to it. It's just as your attack action.
Yeah. One way that you could flavor that is you can have it return to you as part of the same action, but it deals no damage and like flies up and comes back.
That'd be a good way to do it.
Or a secondary way to do it is you have to use a bonus action on the following turn to make it return to you.
Following turn.
So you could throw it and like leave it there, get the double movement, fly across the battlefield, and then whoop, yoink it back on the next turn.
That could be.
There'd be a little balancing involved as far as like making sure it doesn't deal like stupid amounts of damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, just an interesting little alternate way to maybe use it.
Yeah.
Pretty sick.
I kind of like it like that, actually. Because if you like on the following turn use the bonus action, maybe you still get the damage dragging it back through the people that you threw it at, and then you've got your action freed up.
You can throw it again.
Or use a spell. If we did it like that, I would have it so you need to have the full weapon intact in order to use spells. Yeah,
that makes sense, because it would technically be concentrating on the blade being out. That could be a really interesting way to flavor that.
You wouldn't have to specifically write that, but it would in effect be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that. That's a
it'd be like idea. Using your concentration, but that concentration on the weapon specifically can't be broken by damage.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's fun.
Oh, yeah.
What you got?
I have more Pokemon, Sam.
You sure do.
I have more Pokemon. I have a Pokemon that, in my opinion, does not get anywhere near the amount of love it deserves. Cofagrigus, which is a sentient sarcophagus.
It's plenty of love from me.
I am so mad that Cofagrigus is not in the most recent generation.
Yeah.
So mad. But I will let that go for right now. because we're not here to talk about how much I hate what Pokemon are and aren't in the current generation. We're going to talk about D&D. So D&D it is. I have the Wandering Spirit Warlock as a subclass.
Yay. Let's hear it.
So all Warlock subclasses get a list of expanded spells that they get access to in addition to the normal Warlock spells. The Wandering Spirit Warlock gets, at first level, Absorb Elements and Bane. At second level, first and second spell levels, not class levels. Second levels for spells, Heat Metal and Levitate. Third level spells, Animate Dead and Non-Detection.
Okay.
Fourth level spells, Arcane Eye and Confusion. Fifth level spells, Arcane Hand and Telepathic Bond.
Can you remind me what Arcane Eye does?
Arcane Eye is the one that you can summon like a little, and it like floats around and you can see from it.
Okay, cool.
Subclass abilities. Sarcophagus. When you take this subclass at first level, you acquire the sarcophagus of your patron, a wandering spirit. As part of your pact, it bonds to your body, allowing your patron to interact with the world through you. You can decide what this bond with the sarcophagus looks like and in what fashion it changes your appearance when you bond with it. But it gives you the following benefits. Coffin Defense. Your armor class becomes equal to 10 plus your Constitution modifier plus your Charisma modifier, and you lose proficiency with all armor and shields.
Okay.
So your AC is no longer dex-based.
Whoa.
And then Arms of the Spectral. As part of the bonding process, your upper body becomes partially bound and mummified. Your arms are bound to your torso, and you gain 4 arms made of shadow.
Oh, Jesus.
That emerge from portions of the sarcophagus on your back.
Creepy.
These arms can be used to manipulate objects and weapons in the same ways your normal arms would be able to. With these arms, you can also make a spectral strike attack. As an action, you may make a melee spell attack with one of your spectral arms, dealing 1d8 necrotic damage plus your charisma modifier on a successful hit. So that is kind of my homage to the Shadow Claw move that Cofagrigus gets.
Totally.
Another ability you get from the sarcophagus is Spirit Swap. As a reaction, when you are hit with a melee attack, you may force the attacker to make a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, your strength score becomes equal to their strength score for 1 minute. Once used, this property cannot be used again until you finish a long rest. So that is my homage to the move Power Swap.
Okay.
Which swaps the attacks of the targets. At 6th level, you gain the ability Husk of Unlife. Your patron's essence becomes stronger, entwining further with your own. You no longer need to eat, drink, or breathe. Also, you gain Inversion Aura. As a bonus action, you may activate this aura, which has a radius of 15 feet. Any creature within the aura loses the benefit of its dexterity modifier when determining its armor class, instead deducting its dexterity modifier from its armor class. So that one's a little complicated, but to simplify, basically, creatures within the aura whose armor class takes into account dexterity modifier, they no longer get the dex modifier as part of their armor class. And additionally, on top of that, they subtract the dex modifier from what that would be reduced to.
Okay.
So like if you have a, let's say you have a ranger wearing leather armor and they get a +3 bonus to their dex modifier, to their AC from their dex mod. So they're sitting at like, I think leather armor is like 12 plus your dex. So I think that would be like 15 total. So their AC would go down to 12 and then minus their dex modifier. So armor class is reduced significantly. This aura lasts for 12 seconds, so only 2 rounds. Once used, this effect cannot be used again until you finish a long rest. So this is Wonder Room.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Which is a Pokemon move. Let me find the exact. I'll tell you what the exact.
I forget which stats are swapped in Wonder Room.
So basically, a Pokemon's defense and special defense stats are swapped for 5 turns. There's not really a segregation between defense and special defense in D&D. So I thought rather than swapping something, just have their defenses dropped for a little bit. And it's very powerful. I recognize that. That's why it only lasts for 2 rounds. And you can't use it more than once. So at 10th level, you get Spirit's Curse. Obviously an homage to the move Curse. The spirit within your sarcophagus now grants you the ability to draw from its extraplanar energy and your own life force to weaken your enemies. As an action, you may choose to take up to 5d6 necrotic damage in order to place a heavy curse on a creature you can see within 60 feet. The targeted creature must make a charisma saving throw against your spell save. If you choose to take at least 3d6 damage to activate this ability, they make that saving throw at disadvantage. On a failed save, the target becomes cursed by you for 1 minute. While cursed this way, the target's skill checks, attack rolls, and saving throws are reduced by a number equal to the number of d6s you rolled for this ability. So if you chose to take 5d6 necrotic damage to activate it, and they failed their save, ability checks, attacks, and saving throws are all reduced by 5 for 1 minute.
Okay.
While they're cursed.
Wow. That's brutal.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, at the beginning of each of its turns, the affected creature loses hit points equal to twice the number of d6s that you rolled. So, much in the same way that Curse takes away a portion of the HP of the enemy Pokemon, if you rolled 5d6 necrotic to activate this at the beginning of their turn, they're going to lose 10 hit points. The necrotic damage that you roll in order to activate this ability cannot be reduced in any way, and again, once per long rest. Finally, at level 14, you get Bonded Destiny. This is kind of a combination.
Okay.
Obviously, you recognize Destiny Bond in the title there. Also, I gave it a little bit of flavor from the Hex move.
Okay.
When you place your Spirit's Curse on a creature, your very essence becomes attached to theirs temporarily, allowing you to harry them unrelentingly. Whenever you hit a creature affected by your Spirit's Curse ability, they take additional necrotic damage equal to your Charisma modifier. There's the Hex. If you would be reduced to 0 hit points while connected to a creature via your Spirit's Curse ability, you instead drop to 1 hit point, at which time the cursed creature takes 6d8 necrotic damage, and then the curse is immediately lifted.
Wow.
This one came to me in such a flurry. Like, I was like, Cofagrigus, I want to do something with Cofagrigus, because let me pull up the picture that we found on the Pinterest that made me want to do Cofagrigus so bad.
I have it pulled up here, actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Sick.
This is awesome. I went to look for this after you mentioned the arms thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's oddly specific, but that is represented in the art that we often look at for these.
Yep.
I love how this thing looks.
I know.
That's such good art. It's great. Also, I love the little Ekans on the leg. He's funny.
He's so cute.
I noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, but you, for the most part, followed the same order with the adaptation of moves and abilities into subclass abilities that moves follow for Cofagrigus' level trajectory.
Kinda, yeah. That honestly, I didn't even think about doing it that way, but I realized that I had.
Yeah.
Because I started at the top of the list of moves that it learned, and I went to the bottom.
Yeah.
So I kind of did. I was like, oh, okay, so it learns Shadow Claw immediately upon evolving.
Yeah.
And then you progress up to Hex, and Destiny Bond is the last move that it learns. So yeah, I didn't realize that was the theme of it as I was going, but you say that I'm like, yeah, that is exactly.
I actually think that like for adaptation of a lot of Pokemon, it makes a lot of sense to kind of do that.
Yeah, no, this one was a fun one. Like I said, this came to me in an absolute flurry.
Yeah.
I was looking at the picture and I was like, man, this is such a specific image.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I make that come across in D&D?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought of like, okay, so if your arms are like trapped against your chest like that, and you have this sarcophagus and you have these spectral arms, I was like, I don't want to do like the monk thing because they already have the astral arms thing that monks can do. And then Warlock came to me and I was like, you know what? That's perfect because a lot of the times Warlocks have the pact boon, which is like a familiar or a talisman or something like that. I didn't go through the trouble of trying to create a new pact boon for the sarcophagus, but I was like, that was the theme behind it.
Yeah.
Was if the pact boon was the sarcophagus, like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
And subclass. So I think it still works with using pact boons. Like if you wanted to use Pact of the Blade or something like that, you can hold a sword in one of the spectral hands. Like you can do that however you want to do it. But yeah.
I also think like a lot of people might be hesitant to take a subclass that so heavily dictates the appearance of your character and like the use of their body.
Yep.
Which makes sense and might be a big downside for some people. But I think that it makes the most sense to do that for a warlock subclass.
Yeah.
Because a patron that you have a pact with seems a likely route that something like that may happen by.
Right. Yeah. And obviously I put all that flavor in there to make it seem more like Cofagrigus, but as with any subclass, as with any class that you play, talk to your DM because they can tell you, yeah, if you don't want to have your arms trapped against your chest the entire time you play the character, we'll just edit that part out and we'll just say that you just get the extra spectral arms.
It's like how we tend to use Aasimar.
Yeah.
You know, like the wings aren't supposed to always be visible. They just show up for like...
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an activated ability to get wings.
Yeah. But that's boring.
Yep. I want to fly without a beak and talons.
Do I also smell a little bit of Runerigus influence?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That was I was gonna wait and mention it at the end, and then we got talking about everything. But yeah, so the two different forms of Cofagrigus, technically, one of them is Runerigus, however you pronounce it, is a ghost ground type that was introduced in Generation 8, where Cofagrigus is pure ghost. But yeah, the Cofagrigus' ability is called Mummy. It does pretty much the same thing as Runerigus' ability, but it doesn't sound as cool. So I used Wandering Spirit, which is Runerigus' ability. They do the same thing. Contact with the Pokemon changes the attacker's ability to Wandering Spirit or Mummy or whatever. I think there's a slightly different way that Runerigus' triggers, but it does essentially the same thing.
Wandering Spirit is a little bit different.
Yeah.
In how it activates. It actually exchanges abilities with the attacker.
Oh, okay. Got you. Was that translated well?
I don't think you have to.
That's fine. It's good enough the way. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. I did a great job.
You did a great job.
But yeah, so I like the sound of Wandering Spirit better than Mummy. So
right, yeah.
I just went with that.
A little generic.
Yeah. But thankfully the two Pokemon are similar enough that it fits. It makes sense. So
yeah, I don't think Runerigus would necessarily justify a totally different subclass.
I don't think so. Don't think so. So
you could potentially, given the rune flavoring of it, design some runes based on it in D&D.
That would be kind of cool.
I think that would be fun.
Like additional runes for like Rune Knight Fighter and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do a wandering spirit rune would be kind of cool.
It would. It actually would. I don't know what the fuck the effects of it would be. Because like there's no analog to Pokemon abilities.
Right. I'm imagining like buff and debuff swapping.
Maybe.
So like if a BBEG or someone gives themselves haste or gives themselves like the bless spell or something like that, and they like cast a hex on you or something, you can activate the wandering spirit. They have to make a save, and then if they fail, you get
cool.
the buffs and they have hex.
I think I would keep it contact based.
Yeah, like you'd have to hit them with an attack, and then on the attack you could trigger it. Mm-hmm. That'd be sick.
Yeah. In the last week here, we have been deliberating over something. We're at a bit of a loss for exactly how to translate a Pokemon like Deoxys. But we have some ideas, and we want to spend the rest of the episode really here, kind of hashing out how to make this work best. Mm-hmm. Now, there are many different routes you could take something like Deoxys. I think we've been talking with each other, and I've mentioned in our discussions that I think if you were to make a very literal translation of the Pokemon, it would end up a sorcerer. But we've been looking into how to best portray the form change ability that it has into different stat changing forms. And where we've ended up is kind of an augmentation of Artificer's Armorer subclass. So we're going to explore that a little bit and see what we can do with that, and see if we can differentiate it even a little bit more from Armorer itself.
Yeah. We've been talking about wanting to do this and do a subclass build live, rather than just bringing pre-made stuff, because sometimes it can be fun to sit and, follow the thought process together. And we thought, what better way to do live subclass creation and live adaptations and things than with legendary Pokemon. Yep. So Deoxys came up naturally in our conversations, in trying to come up with content to bring to you guys. And like Sam said, with the different forms that Deoxys can take, we want to try and do as much justice for this as we can, because we think this is just such a cool Pokemon and has potential to be an incredible subclass.
Sure does.
So looking at Artificer, let me pull up the official Artificer sheet. Artificer has a lot of abilities.
Yeah.
This is very many. Part of the reason why I've actually personally never undertaken a homebrew Artificer subclass. Uh-huh. I've never approached it before. I'm a little scared.
Oh yeah. There's a lot we have to consider.
It's intimidating. Uh-huh. There's a big chunk of shit to deal with this one. Oh, the infusions. The thing that confuses basically everyone on the internet. The Artificer confusions, if you will. Oh man.
You've seen me implement one somewhat recently.
An Artificer?
An infusion specifically, in a campaign that we're in with Minoth and Dez.
Yes. Yes, I remember that now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're actually going even braver than I would, and you're playing an Artificer. Yeah. You've played Artificer before. Mm-hmm. I have not. I'm still intimidated by it. So a lot of Artificer's abilities are very much like reacting to things that happen, reacting in combat situations, and learning how to use magic to craft things and to put magic into things.
Yeah.
With Deoxys, we again found a picture that kind of influenced this idea for Deoxys, and it was very, very like mechanical looking, kind of cyberpunk type of build. We went with Artificer for this one. Also because it would be really cool to have the various forms of Deoxys be reconfigurable armors for an Artificer to use. So let's look at the Armorer subclass, because I think it necessitates kind of following the Armorer subclass pretty closely.
It may.
At least for the early levels.
Yeah.
The Armorer subclass, the first two abilities, Arcane Armor and Armor Model, would be equally necessary for this build. Arcane Armor specifically, if the armor normally has a strength requirement, it does not for you because you're a special little lad.
I think these are things that we can modify considerably, though.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to. That's very true.
I think Arcane Armor makes sense to keep pretty much intact.
Yeah, I think that we could maybe make like a slight change, because for the Deoxys subclass, I don't think I want that to be something where you pick up a suit of armor and turn it into
right.
Artificer
Yeah,
armor.
I think I want it to be something that the character creates.
Mm-hmm. This would have to be a pretty unique set of armor that only you are proficient with.
Here's what we could do. What if it's not a full set of armor?
Oh?
Since we are going to have it change form, it will be a modular set of magic armor that rearranges itself. For example, in defense form, it becomes as literal a set of protective armor as you can possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
With the defensive capabilities of like a very high quality plate mail. But you don't have access to some of the abilities that it might offer you in its attack form, in which it transforms from armor on your body to arm attachments to your body.
Yeah.
So your armor class, while in the attack form, goes considerably down. You are not wearing technically a lot of armor at that point, but you have armor on your arms and 2 extra mechanical arms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then for speed form, we can have it, rather than enhancing your arms, it enhances your legs.
Yes.
I'm writing things down. All right, what other forms do we have? We have attack form, speed
attack,
form,
speed, defense normal. Yep.
Okay, so we hit those. Oh, but what would the armor look like in normal form?
I'm not terribly sure about. I think...
What if instead of... Because like for legs, obviously, you're not going to get a second pair of legs.
Right.
It would just be like heavily boosting your legs.
It would.
For the speed form.
Mm-hmm.
Defense form is like kind of like full frontal, like cocoon kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And attack form, I love the idea of giving a second pair of arms. For normal form, what if it just kind of like snakes around your arms?
I think that makes sense. I think you are like well armored in normal form. Because here, let's look at the images of Deoxys itself real quick. Because in normal, it's doing the helix thing with its arms. Attack form is the only one that really accentuates the fact that it has 4 arms.
Yeah.
In speed form, it literally has 2 arms. And then in defense form, it's just chunky all around. And those arms are like used to defend itself.
Another thing that I realized, each form has its own unique move that it gets.
That is something we should consider, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Normal form, the 2 kind of like signature moves that it gets are, I shouldn't say 2. It kind of pulls from the signature moves of all the other forms, which makes sense. Cosmic Power boosts its defense and special defense. Recover regains HP. And Psycho Boost is Deoxys' signature attack.
Yeah.
So that's in normal form. In attack form, it does not get Recover, and it instead gets Zap Cannon, which is a wildly inaccurate, wildly powerful electric move. In defense form, it gets Recover. It also gets defense boosting moves in Amnesia and Iron Defense. And it gets Psycho Boost as normal, but it also gets Counter and Mirror Coat, which deal damage double the damage taken on that turn.
Yeah.
So that would be an interesting thing for maybe a defensive ability for the defense form armor.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Speed form gets Agility, which boosts its speed. Recover, which regains hit points. Psycho Boost for attack, and Extreme Speed.
Yes.
Which I think would be really, really sick to implement. What is the other one? Is that all of them?
So I think...
Yeah, that is. That's all of them.
I think this set of armor, for one, obviously it's your spellcasting focus. More importantly, you would have access to different spells when you change the form of the armor.
Yes.
I think that all of these moves should be spells.
That is a fantastic idea. I was trying to think of like creating a move or like an ability for each move.
I don't think we have to go that far or should.
Yeah, I might revisit just on my own personal time just because I think it would be I like designing abilities. But what was the one spell that popped into my head? For speed form, when it gets extreme speed, there is a spell called Steel Wind Strike. It is a 5th level spell, has a range of 30 feet. You flourish the weapon used in casting and then vanish to strike like the wind. Choose up to 5 creatures you can see within that range. Make a melee spell attack against each of them. And if you hit, the target takes 6d10 force damage.
Jesus Christ. What is this move? What is this spell called?
Steel Wind Strike.
What is this from?
Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Really?
Baby.
I didn't know it was that old.
And then you can teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet of one of the targets.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's literally extreme speed.
It so is. I thought we were going to have to default on something like haste for this.
No.
I mean, you definitely have that in this form, I would argue.
Yeah, there's heavy argument for the haste spell.
Yeah, but this is awesome. This rules. Do you think it's an action to change the form of the armor?
I think it would be because the way I'm looking at it, normal form is going to be your default mode. I think that you would have to activate something to go into a different form.
I think that makes sense to me.
And I think that you can only be in that alternate form for a limited time.
Okay. Yes.
Because, like, if you activate speed form, you get it for a minute. While you're in speed form, you're under the effects of haste. And once during that time, you can cast Steel Wind Strike.
That is pretty good. Do you think you get a set amount of form changes total per day, or a specific amount of changes into every form per day?
I think it would be a set amount of form changes, period.
I think so too.
So that you can kind of strategize and go whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could, I think those are charges that you could spend on like if you wanted to stay in, let's say, just for the sake of the argument, a form lasts for 30 seconds. If you want to stay in the same form for a minute, you would use 2 charges.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad, because these are going to be very powerful. I was going to say, I think you would have a number of charges equal to 2 options popped into my head here. Number of charges equal to half your proficiency modifier.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to be generous, you could just give them a number of charges equal to their proficiency modifier. Because half the proficiency modifier would be... No, I talked myself out of that. Because half your proficiency modifier means you would only get a maximum of 3 charges.
That's right. Yeah.
So if we're making this a 30-second duration, number of charges equal to proficiency modifier, that means you're never going to have... I think your proficiency modifier starts at 1 and goes up to 6?
That is my understanding.
Proficiency modifier. No, it starts at 2.
Okay.
Starts at 2, goes up to 6. So you have a maximum number of 6 times that you can change into forms.
What do you think the recharge time is? Is that a short or long rest or something? Does it operate independently of the stamina of the user?
I think it would be long rest.
Okay.
I really think it'd be long rest. Yeah. What I think would be an interesting ability for higher levels is we've toyed with the idea of an overclock ability for Warforged before. I don't remember if I've talked to you about it.
I don't think so. I don't recall this.
So I had the idea for a feat that you could only take if you were a Warforged, which was you would make a check and take some damage, and you would overclock your system, much like you would overclock a computer.
Yeah.
You gain additional speed, additional movement speed, a pretty significant buff to your attack and damage spell rolls. And then at the end of that, you take like multiple levels of exhaustion. I think there's possibly the argument for something similar to that here, where at higher levels you can choose to front load a form change with charges to stay in that form for longer. But then at the end of that, maybe you can't go back into that form for like a certain number of days.
Yeah. I love the exhaustion thing so much. Like I would want to do something like that.
Maybe do that instead of like limiting.
I think that would make sense if we are having the recharge be long rest.
Because which one would make sense for long rest?
Was that?
What would make sense if we were having it on a long rest?
Having the overclock mechanic result in exhaustion.
Oh, yeah.
Because both of those in tandem imply that this armor is very much linked to and dependent on your body.
Yeah, I like that. Because then if we went with like, maybe we wouldn't even make it cost extra charges then. Because if you spend a charge to go into, let's use speed form again. If you spend a charge to go into speed form, then you get it for twice its duration. But at the end of that, you gain a level of exhaustion.
There was a mechanic. You just did it. I feel bad that I'm not remembering. There was a mechanic you used in something recently where an effect causes you to have to roll, and if you fail the roll, you gain a level of exhaustion.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds familiar. That? I can't remember what that was either.
But what do you think about that concept? Having there being like a possibility, because a level of exhaustion, you are overclocking, you are going crazy, but a level of exhaustion is a huge penalty for anything.
Yeah. Here's the thing that also just popped into my head. If we're going to use a save at the end of the duration, I think the duration should be indefinite. And it's just you can choose to end it at any point in time because the DC is going to increase exponentially.
I think, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So if we're doing, my gut says some sort of a constitution save, like a constitution saving throw. DC starts at like 15.
Yeah.
Goes up to 20 and then goes up to 30.
Yeah.
And then, goes up from there. So like if for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe you've spoken with a god and they've decided to give you just an insanely high constitution save for a while. You use that in the final battle and you can stay in whatever form for like 3 minutes straight.
Maybe that there's an ability late in the progression of this subclass that does increase your constitution for the purpose of overclock saves.
Yeah, and like gives you advantage on it.
Yeah. Yes.
So what levels do artificers get subclass abilities? Lots of level 3. We got 3, 5, 9, and 15. So all of the forms would be level 3. And then form extension sounds good to me as an ability name. We could maybe have that be level 9. I like the idea of putting it at the level 9 slot.
I do too.
And then we can do something else with level 5.
Yeah. I think use 9 makes sense for when you start getting a little risky with your builds.
Yeah, and then if we did, whoops, I went to the wrong tab here. Level 15 is for the armor subclass is called perfected armor.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you additional effects for the different armor forms. I think if we went a similar route to that with this, and we give like maybe another activated ability while you're in that form. So again, using speed form because we've already fleshed it out.
Yeah.
You can cast Steel Wind Strike maybe twice per use of the form.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe add in another effect like your movement doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity.
Yeah, that totally makes sense for speed form.
Yeah, that will be the level 15 upgrade of speed form.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so fun.
This is good.
That is, however, our time for this episode. And just for fun, we're going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger. So we've got a ton of the ideas out there. In the next episode, we are going to start with what we have fleshed out, and we're going to write it up, and we'll give you a full rundown on all the mechanics and everything.
Yep. We will have everything refined and perfect for you.
Oh, yeah.
So we're super excited about this. If you have come up with anything during our little brainstorming session here, I want you to let us have it.
Heck yeah.
In the inbox and on the Twitters. And of course, as always, send us your homebrew to summongreaterpod@gmail.com or @summongreater on Twitter. I want to know it all.
And subscribe to the gosh dang YouTube, guys. Like the videos, comment on stuff, talk to each other, even if you're not talking to us, but we'll probably be reading them anyway. Interact with it. It'll help us a lot. We read all the comments. In fact, I sit up at night sometimes watching the YouTube praying for a comment to come in so I can read it.
Crazy for that. Don't do that.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.